We'll talk about these in a second. I don't want to drift away from the lick because it is quite technical, so I want to get to it right away, and then we can come back to talking about the chord progressions. Only thing I'm going to just play now is position 4 of the Phrygian Dominant, just so we know what we're hearing. If you want to check out the PDF, it starts with, well, on our usual area, fret 7 of the E string. So compare it to Phrygian. It's one note different. The G from Phrygian becomes a G sharp on the Phrygian Dominant, and we'll talk about this more in a bit after we finish the lick. So we've got a stretch here, so work on that a bit more if you need to. Now I'm gonna head to bars 1 and 2 of the lick straight away. It's yeah, we're at 85 BPM. I hope you've got the tab in front of you. I'm starting with a G to a G sharp bend. The G note, as I just said, it doesn't exist in the Phrygian Dominant, but it sounds really cool to bend a semitone up from that to the G sharp. This is a very Blackmore idea, so I kind of used it here, which is a good reference. So yeah, I'm on the D string on fret 5, and I'm bending up a semitone. Holding this note for quite long with the vibrato. Before going back to the root with an extra note, D to E. So I'm going to the A string, frets 5 and 7. And this is my first bar. Long G sharp note and then back to the root. And obviously, I mean, the way I've made it is that we'll be seeing this G sharp a lot into this lick, so we can, you know, associate the sound of the Phrygian Dominant with it, because basically that's the main difference of what we did last week. So again, another vibrato here, and then I've got beat 4 in bar 2, because this is a long E note here. Beat 4 goes, it's like ascending the Phrygian Dominant, but I didn't play the second note of the scale. I just played E, G sharp, A, B. So it's fingers 1, 4, 1, 3. We're in frets 7, 11 on the A string, and then 7, 9 on the D string. If you want, you can come with a slide like I did. So yeah, this is bars 1 and 2 actually. I'll just go and play them slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Two, 3, 4. If you want to go with that slide there, like I did, it's not notated, but it sounds very cool. Now, moving on to bar 3. This is a rhythmic motif that we'll find later on in the track as well, in the lick, and this is pretty much a rip-off from Steve Vai's Bangkok track, which is, it's an amazing melody, so I really wanted to put it in there so you get a good reference for that. It's very classical sounding as well, so let's get to it. It's a descending line, and I've got a rhythm going like this. You can do, I've notated 2 downstrokes and legato for each one, so. But I suppose you could do down up if you want, so. And and I'm talking about the right hand. So what happens here, I've got a double note in the beginning and then a legato. The first note is a staccato note, right? So it goes, it doesn't go like, and I'm picking it twice, then I've got a legato to the last, well, the lower two notes. So the shape goes from fret 10, 10, 9, 7. I'm going down to 9, 9, 7, 6. And I'm going down to a stretchy group actually, which is 7, 7, 6, 3. You might need to work on this a bit more. You might not be using this a lot. And then I've got an even stretchier one, which is fret 6, 3, and 2. So for this one, I've kind of rearranged how we're going to do it. So we're going to play, we're going to do a pull off to the 3rd fret from the 6th. So 6, 6, 3, and then a slide down to the 2. Because it's quite, I don't know if it would sound very smooth doing it same as the others. So this is what we've got in total. It's, oops. One more time slower. 3, 4. And this is where I'm going next. This is my resolution note 1, let's say, because it's got another one coming up in a little while. So this is my D note on the 12th fret of the D string. It's a long slide from fret 2 to 12. And then that's my second resolution, like I said. So I'm staying for a little while in D with a vibrato. Then 10, 9, 10, 9 on the same string, which is kind of a, I'm playing around with landing on that B note. So pick, slide, pull off. We'll hammer on pull off at the same time. So, and where is this coming in? It's coming in beat 4 of bar 3. So let's just skip beats 1 to 3 and I'll come into beat 4. So 1, 2, 3. I've got a few extra notes on bar 4. I'll talk about them in a bit. I'll do the same thing. It's 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna add the rhythmic motif we had, the classical shape there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. A bit slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I've got 3 notes which are connecting me to what's happening in bar 5. And bar 5 is like I'm starting the chord melody again. I'm referring to chord melody as bars 1 and 2. So if you want to think about it, it's again like chord bars 1 and 2, and then a response bars 3 and 4. And I'm heading towards a second chord melody, which is going to be an octave higher and a different variation of the response with the same rhythmic motif. Let me just show what's happening on the end of bar 4. It's 3/16 notes, and it's like, it is essentially a G major triad. Although, like I said before, G doesn't exist as a natural note in the Phrygian, in E Phrygian which is where we're at. But I'm using this as a passing note to get to that semitone bend towards a G sharp. But if it helps you, you can think about it as a G triad. And where is that? I'll put it together with the rest of bars 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got a vibrato going on with that B note in bar 4, and then I'm hitting the same note but sliding up from below, and I'm using finger 3 for that, fret 9 on the D, finger 1 for fret 7 on the G, and then finger 2 for fret 8 on the B string, and bending it up. Now I didn't talk too much about the fingering on the rhythmic shape from bar 3, but you can, I'll do it again a few times now slow, so you can check out my left hand. So yeah, it's I think the first two are quite obvious. It's fingers 3, well, 4, 3, 1, then 4, 2, 1, and then the other one is again 4, 3, 1 with a stretch, and then a slight variation. I've got fingers 4 to 1, and again 1 with a slide, so it's 4, 1, 1 really. Why don't I put everything together up to this point? So this is bars 1 to 4. I'll play them with a click. 3, 4. I moved on a little bit to what we're going to play next. And this is an octave high for the same or roughly the same melody. Again, I mentioned this before. This is a very Blackmore-y bend, Ritchie Blackmore bend. And I'm heading back to the root. So I'm fret 8 on the B string, bending up a semitone, then going back to the G string on fret 7 and 9, and staying for quite a long time and playing it actually twice now, the root note, just to emphasize it that, you know, I'm coming back to this theme I played on the first bar, but this time I'm on a higher root note, 1 octave high. So, and just before I repeat that, I'd like to play those last 4 notes on bar 6. This is again preparing me for what's happening in bar 7, which is the same rhythmic motif in a different set of notes this time. So yeah, bar 6, last beat, I've got frets 7 and 10 on the D string, 7 and 9 on the B string. So, or with a slide. So yeah, this is bar 5 and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. I played from the last 16th note of bar 4 because that's where the bend is happening. Well, at least the beginning of the note that is getting bent. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Similar rhythm to bars 1 and 2. Very, very slight difference. Heading on to bar 7, I've got the exact same rhythm. Same phrasing, same staccato note in the beginning, legato to descend. And the frets this time are on the G string, we've got fret 10, 10, 9, 7. Pick, pick, pull off. Descending 9, 9, 7, 5. Then again going down to 7, 7, 5, 4. And one more, 5, 5, 4, 2. Check out the fingerings. These are pretty obvious. These are, you know, you're probably used to those from your normal major minor modes. There's no stretch here, so. And again, 3, 4. 3, 4. I moved on to the next note. This is again a long slide, just like we did on the D string. And this time we're heading to a different B note again. The resolution is again a B note. It's a bend though. 14th fret on the G string. It's an A to a B whole tone bend. And I've got a very long slide. It's just a way to connect really. I mean, if you see what's notated, it just says slide up to 14 from below. But what really is happening is you're coming from because you want to get ready to bend with fingers 2 and 3, so feels natural to just slide from fret 4 on the G string to 14th. Because that's where your hand was normally before, you know, you were playing, your third finger was playing the note on the 4th fret. So why not just slide from there up to the 14th and make this a seamless, you know, connection. So. Kind of fast forwarding here, but I'll just show, I'll show again how the slide works out to the 14th fret. I'll start from bar 7, just the whole of bar 7. 3, 4. And again, 3, 4. At the 14th fret now, we've got this bend held. We're kind of holding it for some more time and picking the 15th fret on the B string above. So that's kind of a blues, you know, blues thing. You'll probably know about this. We have done this sometimes in other licks. I'm sure you will have played it yourself. So yeah, think of E minor pentatonic here if you want. No pentatonic here anymore though. But yeah, what's happening? We've got a bend, we're holding the bend and we're playing at the same time this 15th fret on the B string. Then I'm hitting the bend again, which was still kept up, and releasing it. So. This is what happens with the first bend, then I've got a second bend on the 13th fret of the G string. This is now my G sharp note. See, it keeps popping up. We're bending this a semitone this time to the A. Oops. and with a vibrato. This is a little more technical because I don't have much. Well, I suppose you could use fingers 1 and 2 for this bend. I think I'm using just finger 2, but it's not a rule, you know. So you're coming from and we're doing the same. We're using the same idea to bend the 13th fret G sharp to an A, semitone up, holding it, playing the 15th fret on the B string underneath, and then keeping that bend, playing it again, and repeating it. It's probably easier than it sounds, but yeah, you can assist if you want with your first finger to do that semitone bend. I kind of find it keeps me very much locked and doesn't feel very relaxed, but you know, it could work. So I think I'll just play from beat 4 of bar 7. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was a bit messy. Let's try again, a bit slower. 1, 2, 3. And you've got a vibrato here while this high note is still ringing. It's a bit challenging, but it's worth it. One more time from bar 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it comes in 4, so 1, 2, 3. And why don't I put everything that's happening in bar 7 as well, which is the rhythmic motif and our phrase with the bends. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again from bar 5. Why not? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it sounds great. And I'm gonna play it at 50 with a click. I'll just do a revision of what we've done so far. Bars 1 to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, don't worry if you don't have too much sustain here, it's normal because we're playing very slow. I mean, I am using quite a high gain and a bit of reverb for the tone, but for such a slow tempo, you know, it's very easy, even with the vibrato, to get the note to fade out. So don't worry if that happens, it's normal. Right, this was section A of the lick, and now I'm going to section B. Section A was pretty much, again, like I said, very Ritchie Blackmore / Yngwie Malmsteen, just a typical heavy metal Phrygian Dominant riff. Now, section B is a bit different. I would say it reminds me a little bit of Queens of the Stone Age, or maybe Muse. I have some song references from those guys as well. It's more modern. It doesn't sound so tense, but it is clearly the same mode. So I've chosen a different way to approach it. It's kind of a little chord idea, and there is room for improvising those as well. But yeah, what's happening here, I think it's best if I talk about the chord progression here to explain this better. But yeah, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to quickly say that in section A we had a chord change revolving around E major, F major, and back to E. Well, it's played in power chords, but that's what it's implying. E major, and occasionally there was a D minor coming in. So section A was all about E major, F major, and D minor in places. This was our typical chord progression. And now in B, I've got something different. I've got A minor, it's like an A minor to a C major back to an E major, which is our key, E Phrygian Dominant. Now I'm describing, I'm kind of spelling out those chords in a different way and in a higher register in section B. So let's have a look at that. Now it's a little power chord if you think about it. It's frets 7, 7, 10. I'm heading for a power chord at least. It's an A power chord, as expected, because I'm playing on top of an A minor chord. So I'm on frets 7, 7 on the D and G strings, and then fret 10 on the B string, and I'm hammering on from 7 to 9 on the G string to get to that power chord. Although, I mean, both would sound good, but the power chord is obviously more, I don't know, more powerful. So I'm just strumming here. It's like a chord idea, like a high guitar part. So that's what's happening. It's down up picking. I've got, like I said, 7, 7, 10 on D, G, and B strings, and I'm playing it with a little bar and my pinky before adding the third finger on the 9th fret of the G with a hammer. I'm jumping to another chord shape, let's say, and this is like an E power chord, but it doesn't have the root on top. It's got the B note on the D string, which is on fret 9. Then I've got the root on fret 9 below on the G string. And then I've got the very same notes on the 12th fret of B and high E string. So it's like a huge power chord. I'm fast forwarding now, but yeah, I've got a few strums of this power chord, this E power chord. And it goes now to what looks like and sounds like an E dominant 7 chord, which is our root chord. Believe it or not, this is our root chord. It's a dominant 7 chord. I just talked about triads before, but if we look at the 4-note chord, it is a dominant 7 chord. So this is where it's kind of walking into. Let me play, and then yeah, I've got this last 8th note on bar 9, which is again an E power chord, but I'm just not playing the high 12th fret. It's frets 9, 9, 12 on strings D, G, and B. just because I want a different voice leading, a different high note. Because the melody in my head was on top of the chord progression. I'm doing it as just with the, well, little chords. Let me play that whole thing in bar 9 slow. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 3, 4. And then I'm staying in this for a little while in bar 10. And adding one more note now. So bar 10 is about the E power chord with the 3 strings. I'm strumming on that with this pattern that I've got there, and then just in, well, little further than the middle of the bar, I'm going to fret 13 on the B string. I was in 12, I'm going to 13 now. So it's no longer an E power chord, it's got a C note in it, but it's still in Phrygian Dominant, so it gives it a lot of tension. It's like an E power chord with an added C, if you like. So bar 10 goes like... two, 3, 4. Two, 3, 4. I mean, there's a number of different rhythms you can do, but let me play exactly what I've notated, and it's going to be bars 9 and 10 together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, no, that's not what I've written. Let's go again. 3, 4. Again, 3, 4. That was 100% right. There's a number of ways that you can phrase it. It all sounds cool, but yeah. Going to bar 11, again, I'm back to the A minor here, because it's A minor for 2 beats, C major for 2 beats, and E major for a whole bar. And now I've got a similar idea going on. Like a higher voicing again. This is an A5. Again, I'm starting from frets 10 on B and E strings, and I'm hammering on the high E string to the 12th fret to again form an A power chord. Let's tune this a little bit. Yeah. It's, yeah, this is bar 11. Let me play bar 11. So 3, 4. Yeah, the intonation is not perfect on this fret actually, so that's why I might sound a bit off. But yeah, what's happening here? I've talked about the fingering on bar 11, frets 10 with a hammer on to 12 on the high E string, and then I've got a different double stop. It's frets 15 and 16 on the B and E strings, and I've got a hammer on to the 17th fret on the high E string. and then landing on what is like an E major chord again, with frets 17 and 16 on the B and E strings. I'll play it a few times slow, so 3, 4. 3, 4. Three, 4. And this rings out to bar 12 for a little bit as well. Let me put on, I'll put bars 9 to 11 together. So 3, 4. And again, 3, 4. Now this is bar 12. What's happening here? We've got a few bends. I'm on the 15th fret. Again, you can think of the pentatonic if you like, E minor pentatonic. 15th fret, bending a D on the B string up to an E, and repeating that same note on the 12th fret on the high E string. So I'm doing this 3 times, those E bends. And then I'm doing an A to a B bend on the G string, 14th fret, returning it and coming to 13th fret on the G sharp again. This is my landing note before I bend it again in the end of bar 12, a semitone. So let's play, I'll play bar 12, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Bit better, 3, 4. And this is bar 13 actually. So yeah, this is a long lick. We're going, this is kind of the end of part B, and then I'm going back to, for the last 2 bars, it's what sounds like an A, but a very short version of A to end the lick. Now, I think I'll put bars 11 and 12 together, just so you see the rhythm. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where bar 12 finishes, and then it goes to spell out what is similar to an F major triad. So I'm on this bend. I'm on fret 13 on the G string. It was coming from bar 12, and I've already bended up a semitone, and on bar 13 I'm also ringing it out and playing fret 13 on the high E string. The bend is still going, so I'm playing it again and returning it. And with it, I'm gonna play fret 12 on the high E string. So this is like, this is what it sounds like, and it's on top of F major and E major triad, which is what I'm implying here. So you use pick or fingers or both. And this is where it comes towards the end. I've got kind of a really fast lick here. It's very reminiscent of Yngwie, what's happening here. It's a diminished lick. So just before I get to it, I'm at the end of bar 13. I've got a little rake. This is again the F major triad. And I'm using the first two notes as a rake to aim for that 13th fret, the F note on the high E string, and the 17th fret on the same string. And this is what's happening. I'm using some sweep picking here at the end, and I've notated the strokes. Don't worry if it feels very fast in the beginning. Just try to get the feel of what the phrase is doing. And if you can't get all the notes, getting the high string is even something you can get away with a little bit, just to cheat and get into the high E exit note. So yeah, I'm on the F triad here and sliding from this 17th to the 19th fret. And this is where I am. This is like a G sharp diminished arpeggio. This is what's happening in Phrygian Dominant. This G sharp, if we build a chord from it, if we step on the notes of the Phrygian Dominant, we'll get a G sharp diminished arpeggio or chord. And the good news with that is that it is symmetric, and if we get the shape in one place, then we can go up 3 frets and play the exact same thing. So I'm showing it again. The first arpeggio is in frets 19 and 16 on the high E string. Then 18 on the B string, 19 again on the G string. And I'm going back. So descending and ascending, it's 4 notes essentially, so. And then I'm sliding from that 19th fret to the 22nd. And I'm copying the same idea. So I've got a pull off, slide, and another pull off. And then a whole tone bend from that 22nd fret up to a root, an E. So, and a vibrato. I'm not gonna lie, this is the most technical, and I've kept it for the exit of the lick, but it is very, very characteristic of what rock players would do with this, so I had to include it. Now, I'm gonna play bars, well, the B section at 50. Let's see how this sounds. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think this will be more obvious if we play the whole thing. So actually what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put it to 65 and I'll play the whole lick with a click, and I'll play it one last time with a backing track, and then I'll just chat about Phrygian Dominant a little bit. Let's go and do that at 65. So whole thing. 2, 3, 4. I'll just do it one last time with the backing track. So. Okay, I did a little variation there. I jammed it out towards the end, but that shouldn't be the biggest problem here. I hope you understand the structure and how this whole thing works. Now, a few words about the Phrygian Dominant. We talked about the shape before, which was what's the usual way to practice it? With your low E note. And think about the chords, of course. Now, some very well-known songs in Phrygian Dominant are, I think the most well-known, at least I knew, was from the rock world, is Gates of Babylon by Rainbow. And then the other ones, of course, would be Yngwie, definitely, you know, Trilogy, Far Beyond the Sun, loads of songs. Yngwie uses it so much. And then you've got, I think what made it most well-known to the Western world is probably Dick Dale's Misirlou, which is, it's a Greek original song, actually. I put the link in the notes. You want to check it out. It's an original Greek composition. And yeah, Dick Dale used it in a totally different feel with that surf kind of guitar, which made it very, very popular, and with Pulp Fiction and everything. So I'm sure you will have heard this. It's like... all that type of stuff, although it includes some extra notes from other scales, but I don't want to get too deep into that. Yeah, other songs, well, Power Slave from Iron Maiden, then Bangkok from Steve Vai, and Fire Garden Suite. This is the one that I said I borrowed some ideas for the lick. And yeah, I mean, it is used a lot of the times in parallel with the Phrygian mode, like Wherever I May Roam, which has a Phrygian Dominant solo, but last week we saw that the riff was in Phrygian mode. So lots of references for you to check out, and the typical chord progressions, I've got them in the separate file. But essentially, like I said with the Phrygian mode, you know, if you see A minor and F major, then you know you're in Phrygian. A very easy trick to spot Phrygian Dominant is if you see E major and F major. So two major chords in a row with a semitone apart. First note, lowest note is going to be your root for Phrygian Dominant. And that's because of the way the triads are arranged. You know, if you work out the notes, this is what you get. And this is a very, very powerful chord progression, E major to an F major. And then you've got D minor and A minor, which are the chords we have in the lick as well. This can form a very typical leading up to an E, but your F major is the strongest resolution here, the chord change. So and you can use the G sharp diminished chord if you like. I mean, most of the times it would be an inversion for an E major as opposed to a G sharp. diminished chord if we're talking about modern music, because this sounds quite, you know, I don't know if I want to say jazzy or classical, or just too descriptive. The chord is very, very full of notes. But yeah, you might notice this G sharp, wherever it happens, it gives us a very good description of that sound. And anything that bends up to it, below, up to the G sharp, all that type of stuff. So yeah. What else? Yeah, there's a lot of riffs. I would say Phrygian Dominant is mostly described in riffs. I mean, it's not always that there is a chord progression. Apart from that, like I said, chord change, the E major to F major and back. This is very typical even in flamenco music with classical guitar, which has more extensions to it. I've included it in the typical chord progressions. So yeah, you can even find it in riffs a lot of the times, like I said, because it's got this interesting tension with that major third, that G sharp note. Just jamming out a few ideas with the open string. So yeah, you would definitely hear this in heavier tracks and riffs, metal riffs. Other than that, I've tried to capture as much as I could of the Phrygian mode, the Phrygian Dominant mode, because it has a lot of information and it takes a bit more practice than the other ones because of the stretching and the different fingerings, but it is totally worth it, and you can create a lot of tension by using it selectively. You can use it with the Phrygian mode, like I said, or parallel to maybe a minor song. We'll see something like that next week to combine two different modes. It's going to be Phrygian and Aeolian, but the same things could apply to Phrygian Dominant as well. So I'm ready for your questions. I bet there'll probably going to be quite a few. And thank you very much for your focus. I know this was a long lesson. It was a lot of work, but well done for what you've done, what you've achieved. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time, and I'm ready to answer your questions in a few seconds. Thank you very much. This was Irene Katskidi with jamplay.com. See you next time. Hi again. Thanks everyone for joining this week's Phrygian Dominant. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a long lesson, a lot of information, definitely a very exotic sounding scale this week, so lots of work to be done, but yeah, I'm sure you got a great idea of the sounds. Let's head to your questions. Right, what is the orange amp behind you? Got two orange amps behind me. Actually, I've got three. There's a little one as well. It's you know, by Orange amps. These are the amps that I'm playing. I'm endorsed by them, so got quite a few of them. Love the tone, especially the drive channel, very creamy, very like full of harmonics, so you can definitely check them out. They are amazing. You know, I mean, I'm recording all my videos with them and I'm not editing the sound at all. I'm not putting any effects aside from the reverb on the amp itself to record. Sometimes, not all the times, but yeah, just the drive channel especially, it cleans up nicely with a and pretty much I use the drive channel most of the times, even for a crunchy tone. Yeah, but that's the rock reverb. That's the Orange rock reverb MK2. It's got two speakers in. I'm not using that right now, but I use it to record the lesson. You know, during the actual lesson, I'm using the solid state amp for this now, which is just just a smaller version without the tubes. Right, so I hope this covers you. And yeah, the mini one, this is for taking it out on a holiday, because it runs on battery. You can plug in a backing track to it as well. It doesn't have a gain channel, but it doesn't matter, you know. It's got like a gain knob, which kind of gives it a bit of crunch. Yeah, they're really cool. Love them. Love them. Right, are there any other Eastern sounding modes? Yes, of course. We had Phrygian mode last week. This was Phrygian Dominant this week. There's also harmonic minor, which is, it's not the same formula as the Phrygian Dominant, but the Phrygian Dominant is the fifth mode of the harmonic minor scale. And also, a very interesting one is, I think it's called Neapolitan scale, if the name is right, is the one that is in the actual tune by Dick Dale. Mr. I played. Which has this extra note. So it's like the Phrygian Dominant, but the seventh degree is a major seven. So it's like a semitone higher of what we did, and it sounds like. Sorry, it goes. Instead of, it's more, it's got even more tension. You can use all three of them, Phrygian, Phrygian Dominant, Neapolitan, harmonic minor at the same time as well. Everything together now. And then there's more. There's the Hindu scale, the Egyptian scale, a lot of combinations of those in pentatonics. So yeah, if you look it up a bit, you'll find lots of those. And also another player I didn't mention before is Marty Friedman. He's kind of an expert in that type of area. If you want to look up the exotic sounds more in modern playing, that is his style totally. He sounds amazing. Right, what else do we have? Weird question. How did humans decide what notes make up a chord? Like, how did we decide the specific notes should go together? Have we just been conditioned to believe that those notes actually sound the best together? Well, that's very interesting. I think there is some truth in that, but I have well, at least from what I know, the chords came from the harmonics of the same note. So for example, when I play an open E string, you might hear the tonic, the root chord, which is the main, in that like waveform. It is the main, the strongest harmonic. But then there's other harmonics like the fifth and the third that you can hear into that vibration. I'm sure on another instrument, maybe not the electric guitar, you might even hear them more prominent. So I think this is how the chords came to, well, not to sound, but to be sort of decided, because when you hear an open string, it immediately gives you that major third and fifth underneath the root. So that gives a different, if you couple it with another note, then obviously apart from their interval, you're also hearing all those other harmonics. So yeah, and some of the notes that form the chords are not part of the harmonics of the single note. So when we add those notes, then you get a different feeling because of the clash, if you know what that means. But this is kind of a physics, I think this is the physics behind it, but I am sure that we have been conditioned, because obviously the more you go towards the east, the more notes you will hear. There's all the instruments like the sitar and even more instruments that I wouldn't be able to tell you the names correctly. They've got a different different scaling. So coming from there that we might not be used to. So yeah, I don't think there's a right and wrong way to play the chords. It's just what type of music does it serve, because obviously every music is originating from the history of the country where it was popular in. And I guess this has to do with how people listen and how people sing, most of all. So I would also say that, yeah, the chords are definitely linked to the singing, because, you know, Matt started singing as opposed to playing an instrument. So when you sing, your voice is not a quantized instrument. There's a lot of things that can happen. And depending on what happens, then there's a chord a chord progression to be decided by the musician. So yeah, great question. I mean, yeah, we could talk about this a lot. I would need to look it up as well, find some more information. Interesting. Yeah. Is this the same? Next question. Is this the same as when the saints come marching in? Now, if you're referring to the scale, I doubt it. I don't think there would be a Phrygian Dominant in this song. At least if we're thinking about the same song, it's a major song. So, well, I mean, Phrygian Dominant is kind of a major mode as well, but definitely not in a song like that. I'm pretty sure it might be something like major or Mixolydian. But yeah, I don't think it's Phrygian Dominant. Right, next question. Could you phrase Over Giant Steps by John Coltrane with Phrygian Dominant scale? Me, personally, I would have to say no, but I don't think, I mean, if there is, I know roughly that if you have, if you've got a minor 2-5-1, which is a jazzy chord progression, like, if you've got something like that going on, you can obviously on the 5th degree play either the Phrygian Dominant or the harmonic minor scale. Well, these are derived from each other. So if there is a 2-5-1 like that, a minor 2-5-1 in the song, which I'm not sure there is, I think it's major changes. If I'm not a jazz player, so definitely those questions are not something that I could give you an answer with a lot of authority. But yeah, if there is a minor 2-5-1, I'm sure you can use Phrygian Dominant. If there isn't, again, I would doubt it. So, but again, you know, this kind of goes to everything. You can decide what to play if, what's the best way to say that? Depending on what color you want to give to the chord. I mean, I know Giant Steps is quite a fast song, so there's a lot of fast-paced chord changes. So I don't know if you have too much time to give this sound. Perhaps you do. But yeah, say for example you've got a chord progression which is very static. Maybe you've got a vamp going on in E minor. I'm not even playing anything close to Phrygian Dominant. I'm just playing kind of a riff or a vamp, like I said. So maybe if it goes on for too long, I could phrase in anything I like. And this is the reason that I've been doing everything in E, because I want you to realize that if you're going to improvise over a long section or write something in a static chord progression, or maybe something that moves in a very, you know, not very specifically with a lot of chords that give you the tone. If it more or less goes around the same key, you can do anything you like. You can combine all the modes we've learned. Phrygian. Major. Mixolydian, sorry, major. So it has to do with the melody. What do you want to tell with your melody? Do Do you want to start it out one way and then jump to another? This is very common. You know, it depends on your songwriting. So in this sense, you can use the scale however you like, in a way that, you know, supports the sound you've got in your head, because scales and modes are essentially all about intervals. So depending on what the tension you want to give is, you can choose your interval. And yeah, this goes on for the rest of what we're going to be doing. Well, actually, this was the last week on single modes. Next week, the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna be doing a combination of 2 modes in one, which is, well, it's similar to what I'm saying. Yeah, you can use a lot of things together at the same time and phrase without having to obey with the rules. Yeah, so there's one thing I'm saying. We're doing those typical chord progressions so that when we see them, we can understand how the mode sounds in a very, you know, safe environment. Sometimes there might be a chord progression which implies 2 or more things, or a static rhythm or a riff where you can do whatever you like. So this is a good thing to think about. You know, listen out for the intervals. What is the feeling that each mode gives you? And then you can choose, you know, whatever you like and write your melodies. They don't have to be in one mode all the time. They can move. There's a lot of modal songs that do that. So yeah, that was a very long answer, but hopefully it lays the grounds for what we're going to be doing next and for your modal practice in total. So thank you very much for your focus and your, you know, all your questions and all the interaction. I'm really enjoying that. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next one. Take care for now and see you soon.